Alright, we're back at the law courts again. It is the 7th of October 2025. So it's 2 years after, less than 2 years. Oh, it's 2 years after the 7th of October. Less than 2 years, 2 days less than 2 years after the march on the Opera House by the Palestinian group, PAG. So they gathered here today to go to court to get permission to do a march to the bridge, which is contested by the New South Wales Police. So you got all the media scrum, pretty similar to when they did the Harbour Bridge walk. So you've got, well, it's easy to see by the cameras, you can't tell, but microphones, you've got 7-2, Sky, and a furry one in the middle there. So, and you've got the kind of usual people that are involved with it. But I'd say you'll have Josh Lees. Well, there's Damian. He's another organiser. But you'll probably have Josh Lees come and talk when he gets here, and it'll be probably a quick talk before they head in, and then they'll there's an ABC reporter, there's an ABC cameraman. There'll be a quick talk, and then they'll head in and see what happens with the court case. And then I'd say the bigger thing will be afterwards, which will be announced at the end. There's no kind of unusual types around, but you got the police and not many police. I think there's no necessity for them today. Like I said, just the group, the supporters, a very base group of supporters. They did put out a call at last night's vigil for support, but obviously there's not that more. A few turned up, but I think they would be the ones that would come anyway. So let's wait and see what happens. I don't really know what else to say, so we'll just sit tight till someone starts speaking. All right, it's just gone 9. I just wanted to point out, as usual, the camera crews and the media are so accommodating. It's like, get this. There's a guy doing a sound check, one of them, for everybody. You know, he's doing it for everybody, and they're just there's more media. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If I count 13 media and supporters and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe 14. So 12 to 13, and cops 5. So cops 5, more cops, but I think, that's ambulance, depending sometimes. And then these guys are going to set up, they're the Jews Against Genocide. Australia, 2 years, no sanctions, no action. So they'll set up in the background there to get the shot. And there's your ABC cameraman. He's gone from video into photography now. And then you've got, is that the... Yeah, I think that's the girl that called me out the other day, and she's just taking a video. But I mean, that's what they generally do, is they get everyone, and I really think they should do it each time, is get everyone behind with flags and signs and, give it some background. They've got the court in the background, but Damian's organising that, so maybe he's the one going to speak today, and we won't get Josh. I might just squeeze into, I'll just do it from here, And she's with the...
Yep. Do you want to say both standing here or just one standing like? Yep, alright. Everyone ready to get started? Okay, good morning everyone. My name's Damian Ridgewell, one of the organisers of the Sunday, October the 12th demonstration in support of Palestine, part of the Palestine Action Group. We're here today, yet again, defending our right to protest, as the New South Wales Police is attempting to prevent our demonstration marching to the Sydney Opera House. We're marching because Israel is committing a genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. 67,000 Palestinians have been killed over the last 2 years by a relentless assault by the Israeli military. 20,000 of those are children. These figures understate the true scale of the deaths in Gaza, as most conflict experts estimate that the actual death toll is in the hundreds of thousands. The UN independent inquiry has declared Israel is committing a genocide. This genocide is continuing. At least 24 Palestinians were killed in Gaza on Sunday, and we know that Palestinians are continuing to face bombs and being killed by Israeli soldiers routinely within the Gaza Strip. There is still a deliberate enforced deprivation of food and medical supplies to Palestinians. Israel has kidnapped the 500 participants of the Samud flotilla who are trying to, preventing them from bringing aid and food to the Gaza Strip. It's imperative that the Australian government take immediate action to sanction Israel, to stop the export of arms, equipment and military hardware to a country which is committing a genocide. And this is why we are protesting, to demand that our government take sanctions now, stop the two-way arms trade, and to stop the policy of complicity with Israel's policy of genocide, apartheid and racial oppression of the Palestinians. We're witnessing a historic global movement in support of Palestinians around the globe. 100,000 people marched in Berlin recently, 2 million people on strike in Italy in support of Palestine. Our movement here is part of that global movement which is demanding justice for Palestine. And this is why the Palestine Action Group is organising the march to the Sydney Opera House, one of the most iconic landmarks in Australia, to say that people in Australia are horrified by our government's complicity with Israel's genocide and are demanding action for it to stop. The Opera House itself has been the site of many political actions opposed to war. We saw in 2003, people scaled the sails of the Opera House to paint "No War" in protest to George Bush's invasion of Iraq and the complicity by John Howard with that war. We saw Nelson Mandela address a crowd of 50,000 people against, in support of freedom for black South Africans on the steps, on the forecourt of the Sydney Opera House. It is entirely appropriate as a venue for people to march to show solidarity with the victims of Israel's genocide and to oppose war and occupation. Today in the court, we are going to be defending our right to march. We're going to be hearing from people such as Chris Sidoti, human rights expert who was on the UN Independent Commission of Inquiry, to give evidence that Israel is committing a genocide. And we'll be asking the Supreme Court to take into account the fact that Israel is committing a genocide upholds why it is so imperative that this march be allowed to proceed. We reject the accusations that it is unsafe to have a demonstration march into the Opera House. We have held over 100 demonstrations which have been peaceful and safe and have involved hundreds of thousands of people over the last 2 years. Our demonstration will be a mass peaceful gathering of people who are rejecting war and occupation, rejecting the racism and the genocide of the Israeli state, and upholding the rights of the Palestinian people. I'll hand it over to Michelle Birkin, who's against the Occupation 48, who is also one of the defendants.
I think we need to put this in perspective. We are insisting on our right to march, a democratic right to march in protest against a country committing genocide. Now, the last time a genocide was committed in the Western world, we had our governments lined up against that genocide. We had our governments involved in the war, joined the Allies against that genocide. This time we have them not only standing on the sidelines cheering, we have them supplying weapons parts and armaments and intelligence and cooperation and diplomatic support for that country committing genocide. So we are insisting on our right, a democratic right, to claim the iconic Australian landmarks as our own, to show that Australians in general do not support genocide. We do not support Israel's actions. We don't support any of Israel's actions. We have a right to show the world, just like the rest of the world is marching and showing up in front of their iconic landmarks, to identify themselves clearly and their country, their people of their country, as opposed to their governments of their countries, as against genocide. Let's be clear, this particular phase of the Zionist genocide in Palestine is just that. It is only a phase. It has been going on since 1948, and this is a crucial time when the world is finally waking up to the pernicious influence, the pernicious ideology of Zionism. We need to stand really very firm against the influence of that ideology in this country and the influence of it around the world. We stand with Palestine because Palestine is the only place where anybody should be standing, Australian or otherwise. Thank you very much.
Press release, you said you were going to seek for the New South Wales Supreme Court to make a formal finding of genocide in Gaza. Have you consulted with your lawyers about whether that would be any sort of potential overreach of the jurisdiction of this court? I think that's matter for the Supreme Court to decide, but our lawyers believe that it is pertinent to this case that Israel is committing a genocide because it highlights why it's so urgent and imperative that the community's right to demonstrate against that genocide be upheld.
We heard on Friday some of the police argument will be about the logistics of getting a massive crowd in the forecourt and the engineering argument. Can you tell us about some of your safety precautions? How are you going to manage what could be a huge crowd there?
Yeah, in spite of sort of some of the reports about the crowd, the Opera House has been site to very large gatherings in the past. Crowded House held a concert in 1996 there that is reported to have had 100,000 people in attendance. We see massive crowds there, like things like New Year's Eve and Vivid. We think that it is very logistically possible and entirely able to be safe to have our demonstration march to the Opera House. We've identified to the police multiple egress points from there, and we'll have a large team of volunteers to assist with the marshalling of the demonstration in collaboration with the police to manage traffic.
Do you expect to have that of that protest? Do you have a rough number?
It's very difficult to estimate exactly how many people will turn out at demonstrations. By nature, protests are actions of sort of large numbers of people coming together spontaneously. We estimate that there will be at least 10,000 people in attendance at the demonstration, but we can't say for certain exactly how many people will turn up.
How many did you get across the bridge the other month?
We estimate that it was up to 300,000 people who marched across the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Turned up at the Opera House. How would you handle that?
Well, we have to deal with that on the day, but we think it's unlikely that turnout will happen next Sunday.
And you can't really say. I mean, the police are genuinely concerned about safety fears and overcrowding. If you've got 300,000 there, that'd be impossible to manage.
Well, if 300,000 people turn up on Sunday, we'll enact contingencies to deal with that. But we have to deal with it. We'd have to make that assessment based on if that actually happens. In collaboration with the police. No, like I said, we think it's unlikely that that number of people will turn up on Sunday. But if that were the case, then we would make contingencies to deal with it as appropriately.
But you don't have those contingencies.
Well, we can't deal in hypotheticals. We're dealing with what we expect to happen.
This is the third year that you've had to come to the Supreme Court on the October date. Do you think it's more about the lobbyists who are pro-genocide bringing you guys in?
No, I think that the Australian government has many times, well, the New South Wales government has, since the start of this genocide, unfortunately tried to interfere with the right to demonstrate. I think that's because our movement has, well, one of the main points of criticism is the complicity of our government with Israel's genocide. And sadly, we've seen many attempts to stop people from being able to use their democratic rights to come out on the street to march in support of Palestine. And that's why we're here yet again, facing up against the New South Wales police, trying to assert our democratic rights.
Have you been asking the Minns government to light up the Opera House in the Palestine colours?
Yes, we do call on Chris Minns that he should light up the Opera House in the colours of the Palestinian flag.
About time.
We have to remind ourselves what has been happening. Israel is committing a genocide. At least 68,000 people have been killed by the Israeli military in the last 2 years. It is an absolute atrocity. And if the Australian government claims to stand for human rights and for the right of law and international law, then they should show that support for the victims of Israel's genocide and light up the Opera House in the Palestinian colours.
Have you had any advice from a particular security group, or have you planned for up to 300,000 people?
No, we've planned for what we think is a realistic expectation.
Any of you worried? Never. We'll manage it.
There's been a lot made of, there's been a lot made of the actions of protesting on this day, on the 7th of October. I know this is a legal action, probably restrained by the logistics of the court, but do you regret having to make these movements on a day as sensitive as this?
I don't believe
I think that's a really, really important point to make. But my question is this. If everybody is, a certain section of the community is feeling sensitive about what happened on October 7th, 2023, why aren't they feeling tens of thousands of times more sensitive about what Israel has been doing in the aftermath of that? You have every right to protest a genocide. We should all be protesting a genocide. Those sections of the community that have decided to stand on the side of a state committing genocide need to turn that question upon themselves.
I think we're here today because the New South Wales Police are trying to ban an action that is an essential part of our democracy, a right to demonstrate. That's why we're here on the steps of the court today. I think so the fact that we're here on this date is really beside the point.
Go ahead regardless if the court was against you today.
Regardless of the outcome, we will be protesting on October 12th. We will deal with that based on the outcome of the court. Can't really speculate, and I think it would be inappropriate to sort of like presuppose the decision of the Supreme Court. We're confident the Supreme Court will uphold the right to demonstrate, as they did with the Harbour Bridge march. And as we saw with that march, it was absolutely right that the Supreme Court upheld the right to march across the Harbour Bridge, because we saw possibly one of the largest demonstrations against war in this country that took place on that day. 300,000 people marched across the bridge to oppose Israel's genocide and uphold the rights of the Palestinian people. And again, that's what we're seeking from the court today. We're quite confident that our rights will be upheld.
We actually argue that precedent in court, that the Harbour Bridge march is both, a legal and functional precedent for your case.
The arguments in court are the end of our legal team, so we can't really sort of go into that. But in terms of the position of the Palestine Action Group, I think it does set a precedent. But actually, the arguments used by the New South Wales Police to try and stymie and stifle democratic rights in this country don't have any basis. Thank you. One of the principal defendants of the court case, Hanna, will be coming through around 9:30 to give a statement to media. If you'd like to stick around and record that.
Give us your names and spell your name for us.
Sure. My name is Damian Ridgewell. It's spelled Damian Ridgwell, and I'm an organiser with the Palestine Action Group.
My name is Michelle Burkon, Berkon, and I'm a member of Jews Against the Occupation 48.
Thank you.
Stop the bombing now! 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 Stop the bombing now!
Stop the bombing now!
Stop the bombing now! Stop the bombing now! Stop the bombing now! Stop the bombing now!
Stop arming Israel!
Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel!
Sanction Israel!
Sanction Israel!
Sanction Israel!
Sanction Israel!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
Here's Amal, who was supposed to, Amal, I think her name is, who was supposed to speak. She's just asking Damian now, should she? I think she's not, maybe she's not going to. So it looks like she's just going to go straight in then. So she is the, no, that's it, straight in. No, she did stop for everyone all the reporters hung around for the press conference, and it didn't eventuate. So no press conference. He's gone. So maybe I'd say this guy Damian will speak again, maybe, or that's it. So yeah, I'll go in for the court case. All at 9. We've had a malfunction on the 9 microphone. Sitting there.
Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
Just a bit of chanting from the group. The cameraman will come around and get this instead now. Because there's no press conference. They've unleashed their cameras and they're going to have to film this. That's it. Till 9 to recover this. Oh no, you see, they're always so helpful with each other. These guys. It's such a pally. Their media are so pally. I was just standing with my friend that I know who reports independently too. So we're the independent media scrum over here. Just two of us chatting, and they're the rest of them all all the mainstream media all pallying up. All right, so it looks like I'll head in. Yeah, that'll do. All right, we'll head in. Okay, well the court case is going to be concluded tomorrow now. Well, they didn't really even get into it. It's both sides were happy to bring it to the Court of Appeal tomorrow. So you've got a few supporters here. Obviously got a media. You know, they're waiting on someone to give a speech. Everyone else is standing there at the doorway waiting to snap her. I'm assuming it's the main lady. So they're all standing here waiting to snap her as she comes through. Media contingent. And then more media, of course, just waiting to film at the other end. Yeah, so it's mostly media and a very small handful of other people. So she will come through soon. These guys are in there. They're in this position to get them that way, and then the other ones are outside. But yeah, shouldn't be too long. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. And this is yes. She will give a bit of a speech now.
The Palestine Action Group will be returning tomorrow to the Court of Appeal to fight our right for protest. We think that the decision to attempt to prohibit our march on the Harbour Bridge is unconstitutional, and we have instructed our lawyers to make that argument in the Court of Appeal tomorrow.
Are you able to explain why it's going to the Court of Appeal in this constitutional issue in the most simple terms you can find?
I'll try. In short, both parties, that is the police and my clients, the defendants, agreed that it would be more appropriate for this matter to be heard before the Court of Appeal instead of the single judge of the Supreme Court. And in short, the reason for that is that there are some really complicated issues that need to be determined, and they relate to largely they relate to the police's position, which is now that the police is now arguing that the protections that are generally afforded to protesters under the Form 1 system are actually confined to a relatively narrow category of offences, and what that means in relation to the upcoming protest that's scheduled to be at the Opera House is that the specific offences that relate to certain activities in the Opera House, people won't be protected from those under the Form 1 system. We challenge that, and we also say that it's unconstitutional. It's for that reason that both parties and ultimately Justice Harrison today have agreed that it's more appropriate to be dealt with by the Court of Appeal tomorrow.
And interestingly, they had to get the permissions, they had to reach out to the Attorneys General across the country to establish this argument. Can you give us a layman's explanation of how that mechanic works?
Yes, that's standard procedure.
Is it?
Whenever a constitutional issue is raised, the party that's raising the issue needs to issue what's called Section 78B notices to the Attorneys General of each of the states as well as the Commonwealth. That was done yesterday after we received the amended summons from the police. Some Attorneys General have responded saying that they're not interested in intervening, but the balance of them will respond hopefully by close of business today.
One interesting twist today.
That, you're saying that's unconstitutional and we're going straight to the Court of Appeal. Is there a precedent for this?
There's precedent, but it's not a common occurrence. One other reason why this matter's gone to the Court of Appeal is the urgency. This is a protest that is scheduled for this coming Sunday, and so it's crucial that the matter be determined well in advance of that so people can understand the position. And it's not a protest that can be postponed due to the very urgent crisis in Gaza due to Israel's genocide there.
Putting aside the topic of the rally itself, this decision, if it goes in police favour, is essentially this saying you can't have an authorised gathering in the Opera House forecourt, because if those protections don't extend to that offence, then essentially, regardless of your cause, you can't gather in the Opera House forecourt, even if if it is an unauthorised gathering.
If the police application is acceded to the ramifications for the right to protest in Australia will not be confined to the Opera House, but for a wide variety of protest activities. Whilst this protest in particular is about Israel's genocide in Gaza, the consequences of this case will be worn by a wide variety of groups. Whatever you want to protest about, whether it's COVID, Black Lives Matter, immigration, whatever your cause, your right to protest will be potentially affected by the outcome of this case.
That's the right to peaceful protest, is it not?
Sorry?
The right you're talking about is the right to protest peacefully. That was the key in the decision of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which went in your favour, to protest peacefully.
I'm not sure that I understand the question, but
Okay,
in short,
let me help you understand it better. You're standing in front of the red hands of Ramallah. Have a look. Behind you. You're getting it all? Those hands
Sorry, I don't know what
were
you're talking
held
about.
out. This is the symbol. They were held out by a person who participated in the evisceration of 2 Israelis in Ramallah in the early 2000s. So you're standing here telling us that you're peaceful? Did you say that in court?
I don't know who that is. I don't know what you're referring to.
Everybody look it up.
Do we have an actual
Of
journalist?
Ramallah, where the
Hamas does accept, if Hamas accepts,
in the eviscerated bodies of 2 Israelis.
Okay, you've asked your question.
if Hamas does accept the US peace plan and the war does finish before Sunday, do you still plan to go ahead with this protest?
Absolutely. The peace deal that's currently on the table has been widely criticised, including by the United Nations, because it denies Palestinians their right to self-determination. Among many other things, there'll still be a military presence in Gaza by the IDF that is an illegal occupation in Gaza, and it does not mean the genocide ends. There are various arms to genocide, and bombing the Palestinians is not one of them. To this day, Palestinians are being bombarded while the Trump peace deal is supposedly going on. Palestinians continue to be killed and bombarded, and for this reason we will continue protesting on Sunday.
Can I just if I can just add this, the gentleman to my left has just yelled out that there is no genocide in Gaza. I would normally not respond to that, but it is actually relevant to this case.
And the blood libel.
We have in this case, we will be seeking to rely upon evidence as to the nature of Israel's military offensive in Gaza. We will be seeking specifically to rely on an affidavit from Chris Sidoti, who is an independent commissioner for the UN Human Rights Council, and he has provided an affidavit which we have served on the police, which annexes his report that he co-authored for the UN Human Rights Council, stating unequivocally that Israel is carrying out a genocide in Gaza. I've also put an affidavit where I collect the reports of countless human rights organisations across the globe. Nearly every major human rights organisation, including 2 Israeli human rights organisations, which have concluded that Israel is carrying out a genocide in Gaza. And the reason why we're relying on this evidence is that it is relevant. We say it's relevant to the exercise of the court's discretion, and we'll be asking the court in what we understand to be a national first. We will be asking the Court of Appeal to make a positive finding that Israel is carrying out a genocide in Gaza.
Can I just ask, the fact this is going
It's not beyond that court's jurisdiction, though, to start determining whether there's this is the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Is this the right place for that application?
Well, as I said, we say that it's relevant to the exercise of the discretion because the court has a number of factors it needs to weigh up when deciding whether or not to accede to the police application, and one of them is the seriousness and urgency of the cause, the subject of the protest, and genocide is the crime of crimes, and that's what Israel's committing, and that's why we say it's relevant.
Can you explain to us what that means if it doesn't go your way or if it doesn't go the police's way, for either side's challenge to that, if they want to appeal against the decision, where would it then go?
Well, the next stop would be the High Court. Whether or not a party seeks to take it there, I think it's premature to say that. I can't really comment on that until we know what happens tomorrow.
What's your feeling on that? Would you be willing to take this all the way to the High Court of Australia?
We're willing to defend our right to march in whatever avenues we have available.
So that's a yes.
Well, we would have to get advice on that, so no, I can't answer that. Again, it's very premature to ask for that question.
Can we just get
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yes, certainly. It's Nick Hanna, Hanna. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Do you know how many people were killed in this bloodline before? How many
Sorry,
were killed
it's
in occupied Palestine? Do you believe Palestine is occupied?
No, not at all. It's
not
Israeli
occupied.
territory. Yeah, absolutely.
And Gaza is Israeli territory?
Yes.
Do you live
yes.
in Greater Israel?
No.
Are you a
no.
Jewish Zionist?
No.
Are you a Jewish Zionist?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm an atheist.
Are you an extremist?
No, not at all.
So you just
no.
called it Israel and there's Palestinians who live there. How does that work?
In Israel proper, right, there's 2 million Arabs
What
who
about
live
improper?
comfortably.
Let's talk about improper.
Okay.
So is Gaza proper or improper?
Well, since 2005, they've effectively had a Palestinian state. And look what they've done with it.
Did they-
And so I'd say it's
weren't they
improper.
under siege?
And the world seems to agree with me.
Aren't they under siege? From
No, not at
2005
all.
siege?
No.
You know, the Gazans are actually from what you called Israel proper. They've been kicked out of 480 villages through the Nakba.
Oh, the
Euro-
Nakba, okay.
you know
Let's
the
go back to
European-
the Nakba.
European
This is
Zionist
my
Jews
specialist
who
subject.
came
So
to Palestine
before you
as
bounce
refugees.
around with all these mad accusations, right, which were inspired by Soviet propaganda of the 1950s, 60s and 70s.
So now Nakba happened? So
there-
are there not 6 million Palestinian refugees at the moment registered?
They're not genuine refugees.
They're not
no.
genuine refugees?
No, because...
What's a genuine refugee?
Okay, someone who is displaced by force and has no country of citizenship.
You just described the Nakba, thank you.
No. Okay, let's examine it properly. The first number of people displaced was claimed to be 450,000. With 300, no, that came later from the Soviets. Okay, the first number was 350,000.
So there are no Palestinian refugee camps.
Are you going to let me answer?
No,
350,000.
Nakba.
Yeah, well, you brought the subject up, and it's my specialist
it's like someone
subject.
denying a Holocaust.
No,
Would you
it
deny
is
the
not.
There's
There
some
is
people
no
who deny a
comparison. And your absolute attempt to introduce that concept of comparability between the so-called Nakba and the Holocaust is part of the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism.
It's not a definition. IHRA
Yes, it
is an opinion
okay, here
by
we go.
pro-genocide.
The Nakba, okay? In 1948, Haj Amin al-Husseini, right, the Nazi aligned, who met Hitler in 1941, right, and broadcast for the Nazis during the Second World War, before and during the Second World War, right, the leader of Palestine, he organised the attack on the 15th of May 1948 of 7 Arab armies and belonging to 5 nations.
Didn't this happen after the plan put out by the Europeans who attacked the villages?
No.
Wasn't that in response?
No, there was a civil war
response?
beforehand.
Weren't the Zionists trying to take Palestine anyway?
Israel declared independence and the state came
Independence
into
where?
being on the 14th
Where did
of
they
May.
declare independence?
Independence from the United Kingdom, from Great Britain.
What, were they in the United Kingdom or were they in Palestine?
Have you not heard of the mandate of
independence in
Palestine? Your case is incoherent. Now, my point that I want to make, I want to leave you with is, the Nakba is a misrepresentation of an attempt to restart the Holocaust just 3 years after it was stopped by the Allies.
So the Holocaust
your
survivors came from Europe to Palestine.
An attempt to annihilate Jews.
Did the Holocaust survivors go to Palestine in the Haganah ships? In Haifa?
Most nations tried to stop them, interestingly.
No, they tried to stop them after.
Anyway, thanks for engaging. Good luck with your
All the best.
cause. Right? And everybody stay non-violent.